Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. It hasn't happened in a long time, but there used to be a time where every morning, like this morning, I'd wake up, just stare at my dresser or the ceiling. Say, why should I get up? Why should I get out of bed and do a show on YouTube and get for dozens of views for my one patron? Why should I do that? Why should I do anything? And why should I bother trying to do what I want to do? And then, sooner or later, I think it's usually the philosopher. He was a 20th century philosopher named Richard or Rich Astrid or Richard Astrid. And he had this bit of philosophy I learned back in the 20th century. And it was because, sometimes you wake up and you're like, I kind of just want to give up. And that was what I was doing. I was looking at my dresser, just thinking, why get out of bed? I want to give up. And then Rich Astrid came into my head, and I remember the way he said it. It was like, never gonna give you up. Never gonna give you up. Is it Rich Astrid? Am I getting that right? Does that sound right? EK's nodding. Sorry. Rich or Reg Astrid. Yeah, that sounds better. Reg Astrid. Never gonna give. You know what I'm talking about. Give you up. And so that's why I get out of bed, because sometimes sometimes the only thing you think is maybe there's going to be something funny that happens today. And maybe we'll see what happens when the show's on, because this is Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. And sometimes it's I don't know, sometimes a bad day will come along. And today is one of those days where I'm just feeling, why? And I'm just lucky that these things are very few and far between these days. There was a time in my life where every day I was waking up like that. So I'm thankful at least that it's not like that, because I don't even know how I made it through that, because it was a hell of a time getting out of bed this morning. Good thing I had to poo. Always a good thing. Follow me on social media at, over here, DNALETSAW. That's the word Wasteland spelled backwards on Twitter. You can follow me on there. Join those 20 people. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook. Join those 130-something people. Shock SL Robbins 13 on Instagram. Follow those. Join those 12 people. Or you can become a patron over at patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. I do have one patron now. I know the reasons why I lost 66% of my patrons this past month, and both of them had good excuses. So, yeah, I understand. It was like if times are tough, or you lose your card or something like that, and you had to get it replaced. And now Patreon's being a jerk about re-upping your thing. I get it. But losing 60% of my patrons, it sounds worse. If I said I lost 2 patrons. So being the negative Nancy I am, I say I lost 66% of my patrons this last month. But please consider becoming a patron. I would appreciate it. And if I got more than like 10 patrons, I would definitely be doing like extra content for them behind the paywall. So you please consider becoming a patron. I would appreciate that. Sorry for starting off on such a down note, but hey, it's my mood. It's my show. I'll do it my way. I did it my way. Do as thou wilt. That's what that is. Do as thou wilt, as in what Anton LaVey said from the Satanic Verses. Do as thou wilt, and thou shalt serve Satan. All right, so I want to talk real quick about how the Daily Wire, particularly Jordan Peterson's channel, has been putting out the Exodus series on YouTube for free over the past month. And I've been watching them, of course, along with millions of other people, which I find incredibly fascinating, that there be that many people who would want to watch a biblical study of the book of Exodus. And I don't know, it just makes me feel good. I think it's because Jordan Peterson and the panel of people there are really quite intelligent and have like interesting conversations about it. And I think there is a real hunger among people in the world to want to meditate upon scriptures such as it is. And they're like finishing up the plagues right now in the 4th one. The 5th one's coming out next Monday. I can't wait for it, The only one complaint I have is Dennis Prager. And I'll tell you this, for those of you who don't know who any of these people are, it's hard to explain this, but Jordan Peterson, I subscribe to your YouTube channel, not Dennis Prager's YouTube channel. All right. I find Dennis Prager weird and annoying and off-putting somewhat. And it's not a like anti-Semitic thing or anything like that. It's just that I don't know. It's just the way he talks. It's like I'm the only Jewish person here, so I'm obviously the authority. I pretend like he is kind of like verbally self-deprecating, but at the same time, you can kind of tell he's like, I'm the only real authority here. I'm the only one here who can read Hebrew. And I find that a little bit arrogant, and it doesn't matter like what demographic you are. It's like, because sometimes there's arrogant jerks in every walk of life, you know what I mean? And so that's my only complaint. But seriously, thank you, Daily Wire and Jordan Peterson, for putting that out. I just wanted to say thanks. And if you haven't checked it out, the reason why I was so interested in it is because a while back, like several years ago, Dr. Peterson put out a series of lectures that I still have on my phone, downloaded on my phone, and I frequently listen to over and over again, where he talks about the book of Genesis from a psychological perspective. And I really enjoyed that. But with this panel, you get a whole bunch of other different perspectives, like, oh, I studied the Greek, oh, I studied the Hebrew, and stuff like that. And all these, I kind of want to hear Dr. Peterson's position on all this, not necessarily all these other people. But hey, I'll take what I can get, especially since it's free. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It's something I heard this morning, because I wake up and I make my cigarettes. I hand make my own cigarettes. And I was listening, I put on Tim Pool's show from last night, and why is the fact that Tim Pool's rooster dying is in my mind? I feel like River from Serenity. It's like, this is not my memory. I shouldn't have to carry it. Why do I know? It's like, why did Tim Pool come out at the beginning of his show and make an announcement that his friggin' rooster died? And then he tells the story how he did chicken CPR to him, and they gave him oxygen. The animals that Tim Pool has are the most spoiled animals. They live better than most people in the world. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why he feels a need to announce the death of some fowl. These are chickens, dude. I mean, even when his cat was sick, I was like, dude, cats get old. Cats die. It's kind of like dogs. Why is this in my head? Why do I have to know this? This is why I drink, because I want to delete memories like that. Anyway. So, I'll talk a little bit about a subject I've been hanging back on. I haven't wanted to talk about it for up until now, because I knew this moment would be coming, and so I wanted to hold off until this moment came in order to talk about it. I don't know, a little more than a month ago, there was a viral video that went out with a chick who freaked out on an airplane and is like, you don't have to listen to me, or you don't have to tell me, but I'm telling you right now, that MFer, and she says it, I'm trying to be nice, somewhat family friendly, that motherfucker, oh, I screwed it up, is not real. She went viral. The internet blew up about it. She's shared everywhere. There's YouTube. There's X accounts, Twitter accounts. They're talking about her nonstop. People making memes about her. People painting paintings about her. And so finally, the media house found her, and they found her with a vengeance. And I knew that when they were going to find her, all this information about her was going to be coming out. And it's because. And I'm just like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew it was going to be wrong. And I didn't want to say anything ahead of time, because I was hoping that journalists would do the right thing and respect this person's privacy to some degree. But they didn't. Anyway, they found this girl, you can show that picture whenever you like. I mean, it's the best meme I could find about it, because I couldn't find the right meme. Because this is more like me right here. That's me. It's like, I'm not real compared to her. So it's so when it comes to the internet, it's so. But these news agencies, they've published more pictures of her. They listed her occupation, where she lives, what her home is valued at, her address, information about her. And I knew that they were going to do all that, because that's the way the media is. They basically doxed her. They did everything short of calling a SWAT team to her house. I wish that journalists would have a little more understanding for the concept of privacy, especially for the average person. All right. If you're a celebrity, if you're Brad Pitt or Ed Norton, that's a different story. You know, Brad Pitt and Ed Norton can afford security to like knock the paparazzi out and throw their cameras into the street and dump a couple $100 bills on the ground. Like, what was that? Godfather 2 or 1? That was Godfather 1. You know, it's different when it's a normal person. And when it comes to that MFR is not real lady. You know, her name is Tiffany. That's the only information I'm going to give you about her. And I said, and as soon as I found it out, I said, of course her name is Tiffany. And so I slapped myself in the head, and it was like, that makes sense. And so, you know, she's just a person who had a couple drinks and an Ambien. Is just going to settle in for a flight. And then, I don't know, apparently from what I read, got into an argument with a family member on the plane. And then this like freak out happened. Hey, we all have bad days. Hell, I had one this morning. You know, we all have bad days. And if you have a little bit of a flip out on a plane, you know, and even if you did cause a problem and caused a delay of the plane, I think you deserve a modicum of privacy and respect from the media, in the sense that you don't want a bunch of weirdos coming and knocking on your door, you know, especially when you're talking about that this woman is somewhat attractive. I would say, yeah, she's up there, like 6.5.
Yeah, and then I unmuted the video and she went up to a 10.
Yeah, I unmuted the video and she went up to 10 because it's like, we could talk conspiracy theories with that, babe. But so, I mean, a lot of people say she's an attractive woman, and she is. And so, you know, with that added on top of it, you know, she's going to get a bunch of weirdos looking her up and so forth. And that's just not right. That's irresponsible of the media to do that. You know, we all have bad days, and with cell phones and cameras being ubiquitous, being friggin' everywhere, you're bound to have a bad day. You're bound to flip out a little bit, even when it's something as benign as this. I know it caused delays and stuff like that, but it's not like she went off on a Mel Gibson rant. You know what I mean? It's not like she said anything particularly racist. It's not like she was that girl who got on a plane saying, I'm on my way to Johannesburg. I hope I didn't get raped and murdered. Ha, ha, ha. You remember that one? You know, and then she landed, and then all of a sudden it's like message, racist. You know, it's like, I don't know. You should look at the statistics of Johannesburg in that regard. So my point is that, you know, it's not like she even did anything like that. It was just a little bit of a flip out, a little bit of a conspiracy theory, you know, a little bit of, it's like, there's ghosts on this plane. I see a big shaved Bigfoot in the back or something like that. You know, it just doesn't seem right to me. And what I'm really trying to say, Tiffany, is call me. I got your back, baby. I got your back. You and me forever. I'm kidding. Yes. You are not alone. All right. So, did you guys like that How to Man Up thing I did last week? Because I got another one for you. Because I think it was like the next, or that morning, I got a haircut. So this is going to be How to Man Up, How to Get a Haircut. And I guess it was like a month ago or something. I was making fun of EK, and I was like saying, "Oh, EK's on his way to the salon. You know, I'm gonna go with him and get a pedicure. You know, because men don't go to salons." But EK explained to me that, you know, I got hookups over there. You know, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I understand that. You know, so but you know, I'm still gonna bust his chops for it. You know what I mean? Because men go to a barbershop. All right, that's what men do. And the morning of last week's shows when I got my hair cut, and I got to tell you, you know, it was an experience. It was one of those things that I was like, oh, I guess I know what I'm doing for the Man Up thing next week, because I was getting my hair cut, and this is how I get my hair cut. I walk in there, I know what I want. I walk in, I say I want a fade, starting at 1, moving up, and quite a bit off the top, because my head thinks it's its career to grow thick, hot hair. It makes me sweat. And so I sat down as a female barber. It happens, you know, it's like a modern times and so forth. But I mean, that means I have to modify my behavior to some degree, because I'm a gentleman. All right. So I'm like halfway through the haircut, and this other guy comes in, and he's sitting down on the bench, and the other barber was finishing up with the other guy. The other guy got up, paid, and walked out, and he goes, the guy swept a little bit and said, all right, sir, I'm ready to take you. The whole time, that guy who was sitting, waiting for his turn, he's sitting there like digging through his cell phone. You're like, shuffle. You know, I was like, look at his stuff. And then he sits down in the chair right next to me, and the barber says, okay, what can I do for you? And the guy pulls out his phone and he starts showing him pictures on Instagram. He says, I kind of want something like this. And he starts swearing like crazy. Like every other word was F, every other word was S. I don't need that shit. You know, I got out of the Army 50 years ago. This guy was like 20 years my senior. All right. He was in his late 60s, if you ask me. And he's pulling out his phone, showing pictures of other men on Instagram saying, I want this kind of haircut. And he's swearing a lot. And my barber's female. All right. So I saw this guy go through this process, and I figured this is a perfect opportunity to teach people how to man up when it comes to getting a haircut. Number one, know what you want before you walk in the door. That's what I do. Know what you want before you walk in the door. All right? Don't sit there and speculate with your barber, like, what do you think will look good on me? If you want to talk like that, go to a salon and ask a woman. All right? A barber wants instructions. Only a salon hairdresser will take suggestions, you know, barely. Eventually, they're going to just do what they want to do, which is the reason why I have such a bad haircut. Because whenever I get a haircut by a woman, they see my thick, wavy hair, and they can't bring themselves to cut it. Seriously, this has happened all throughout my life. I'd go get a haircut, and if it's a female person cutting my hair, it's like, your hair's so nice, I don't want to cut it. It's like, I'm sorry your husband's bald, but give me the haircut I want because I'm sweating all night. Know what you want, number one. Number two, don't swear if there's a female in the room. If it's a barbershop, a real barbershop full of men, swear away. We're all men, but we're gentlemen. And that's why you don't want to swear too much around women. All right? That's just, I don't know, a crazy chivalry thing. And maybe I'll talk about chivalry next week. But right now I'm talking about getting a haircut. Also, don't chit-chat. Chit-chat, if it's a barbershop full of men and it's a conversation you're interested in, that's fine. If they're sitting there talking about the game last night or the game that's coming up or which sport is better, absolutely jump into those conversations where you feel an opening. But if you're a male barber and you have a male customer and you start asking, oh, how's your wife? Tell me about your kids. This is not what men want to talk about. All right? That's what women want to talk about. You want to talk about stuff like that, go to a salon. The hairdressers will care more. All right? It's the difference between a barbershop and a salon is a barbershop does a functional service. A salon is half haircut, half therapy. All right? Know what you want, number one. Number two, don't talk. Don't talk. The best haircut I ever had in my life was at the Navy Exchange. As I go in there, I walk in, and it's like there's this Filipino guy, you know, I had to have my chair almost to the floor to get a haircut by him. But I said, I'd give me a high and tight, like I just walked out of boot camp. I don't know how much of that he understood because he certainly didn't understand the 10 words I said after. I had about a total of 27 words I said to this guy. And it was the best haircut I ever had in my life. And all he did was take the clippers, different attachments, wang, 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 wang. It took about 5 minutes. Didn't say a word to me. I shook his hand. I tipped him well. I said, thank you. Thank you so much. This is the best haircut I ever had. There's too many people who want to just, as all that flapping of your gums, your hands aren't moving. I do not want to maximize the time a stranger is behind me with a sharp object. All right. You know why? Because I'm a man and I get nervous about stuff like that. I've seen way too many mafia movies where people get hit in a barbershop. You know what I mean? That's how you get a haircut, you know, like a man, you know. One of my favorite scenes is in what's that called? Gran Torino, is when he goes to the barbershop and he's trying to teach that kid how to talk like a man. So he goes to the barbershop and he makes that mistake about that joke. It's like, oh, boy, is my ass hurting from all those guys on my job site all day. And he screwed it up, you know, and they all got a laugh out of it. And that's what talking like a man is. All right? It's okay to have male conversations in an all-male barbershop, but you don't want to talk about your feelings. You don't want to talk about, you know, it's like, do you think you could give like a massage? You have one of those neck things, but it's not a pampering thing. It's a functional thing. You know, it's hot. I want my hair cut. You know, I don't even understand men who go to barbershops to get a shave. All right. I mean, I I guess I understand it like in 30s and 40s where like you had one bathroom on an entire floor, in, in an apartment building in the city. And so you just go down to the local barbershop and get a shave, instead of fighting every guy on the floor for the sink. But nowadays, it's like there's really no reason for you to get a shave at a barbershop anymore, even though they still have those poles that are supposed to be the little swirls things that are supposed to be like blood strips. Because people back in, barbershops in like early 1900s stuff, they were like, they're basically like your primary urgent care centers, as well. And so imagine the business they were making back then. And there's one more thing I have to mention, and that's about bad haircuts like the one I got. If you get a bad haircut, you say thank you, you tip them, and you leave. And you always tip. Even if you're unhappy with it, even if you don't like it, even if you think they did a bad job, you say thank you, good job, tip them, and leave, and don't come back to them. All right? It's very simple. But at the same time, you don't want to be the guy who comes in the next time and says, you come to this barber again, and you're like, no, thanks, I'm going to wait for someone else. You can't do that. What you can do is say, I might come back tomorrow. I'm actually late for something. I can't wait any longer. I got to go. I thought I would have time, but I guess not. Even look at your fake watch. Nobody wears those things anymore unless you're trying to prove something. Ben Shapiro. So, if you don't like the haircut, you tip them and leave, and you should be man enough to have your own clippers at home and just go and shave it all off, start again next time. All right? It's a functional thing, getting a haircut. It's not therapy. So that's how to man up getting a haircut. All right, let's move on. Let's start with that. Let's do a funny story. We want to do a funny story? I know a guy who told me this story, and and it's a pretty funny one. This happened like in the late 80s, early 90s, and he was driving a long stretch of 95. Let's say he was driving from Florida to Maine. All right. Long stretch of 95. He's on his way. It's the middle of the night, and he's like, ooh, I got a little bit of the tummy rumbles. I could probably make the next exit. And he's like, and he's right. He made the next exit, and he's like, okay, I can make the next one. I got past this one. It's like, it's not that urgent right away. It's like, oh. And then, it's like, ooh, as soon as he passed that second exit, his stomach's just like, time's up. It started being like the Rolling Stones. Like, can't you hear me knocking on your back door? And he's always like, I need to go. To his luck, a sign pops up. It's this rest area, a little arrow. And he's like, oh, thank God. So he pulls off into this rest area. What are you trying to say, EK? He pulls off into this rest area and parks the car. And he's like, ooh, running into the bathroom, finds a stall, gets into the stall, sits down, and whoa, you know how that goes. When you really got to go and you finally get there and you're happy you made it in time. You don't have to, clean up as much as you thought. And he's just sitting there and oh. And then he's finishing up and he sees this foot come under from the other stall next to him. This foot come under and tap his foot under the stall. Immediately he's like, what the hell? What's your problem, dude? Do you have any paper there? Silence. What's your problem, dude? Why'd you do that? Silence. It's like, what the hell? Get some toilet paper. It's like, I don't know what your problem is, man. It's like, why aren't you answering me? Wipe. I gotta get more paper. And it's like, wipe, flush. You better say something about why you did what you did. Hello? Why'd you do that, dude? And he finally gets out of the stall, comes over to the door of the next stall, and says, dude, bangs on it. Dude, you need to say something right now. It's like, why the hell did you do that? Silence. Finally, he's fed up and he just kicks the door of the stall open. The guy panics. He goes into fight or flight mode, chooses not to fight, but chooses not to fight through my friend. And just instead, as my friend describes it, bounced off the walls of the sides of the stall like a ping pong ball. Ding, 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 ding. Because he just panicked, ran, had nowhere to go, and just started bouncing off the walls. It's like, you're real sick. Probably some expletive about homosexuals. You're a real sick bastard, Luckily, it's like because the guy reacted that way, and it kind of made him non-threatening. You know, it's like a guy almost like beat himself up. You know, it's like Jim Carrey and Liar Liars. I'm kicking my ass. You mind? Which is kind of a good strategy, because you'd always give yourself a lesser beating than someone else. It's kind of a good strategy. And so my friend, he's like, okay, fine. This is why I always pull off on an exit and find a like McDonald's or something like that. And I'll buy a cheeseburger, I'll buy a soda or something like that. Say thank you for not being a rest area. Because, you know, this meme here is from Something About Mary, and, you know, it's a great movie, but there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of truth to that. And I knew that even back in the 80s and 90s. Not that I yeah, it's actually a story from someone else. It's not me. It didn't happen to me. Because I'm not attractive. Gay men do it on me. Well, they do. But not in years. Not in years. You know, once my profile picture was no longer in the Navy uniform. Yeah, village people. I told you about that recruiter that drove me down to MEPS, the Military Entrance Processing Center. Yeah, we got in the car and got on the highway. As soon as he got on the highway, he's like, he puts on a CD. He's like, you want some music? I was like, sure. And his first song was In the Navy by the Village People. It's like, dude, are you trying to get me to tell you to turn around? You trying to encourage me or discourage me? I'm confused. And he was a third-class petty officer. I didn't know the difference. I thought he was a seasoned veteran. No. He learned pretty quickly. Like, oh, you've been in 12 years and E4. It's like that guy who was testified before the committee about UFOs. Retired commander. 05 is the highest you got. Retired. I hope you're receiving an admiral program, bro. Anyway. One more thing before we get into the news. I saw this video this past week, and it kind of has haunted my mind. And I saw it on Twitter, X, or whatever. And the question isn't should we not see this kind of stuff on platforms like Twitter? And I think that yes, we should see things like this on platforms like Twitter, because even though it gives us complex emotions, we should understand what is actually happening in our world. And this video is incredibly violent and incredibly indifferent. And the only thing I could say that the response I got from it was it fired up the Batman in me. All right. It made me want to, you know, I am the night. The night is mine. You know, it made me want to become a vigilante. And the video was this closed circuit television camera that was in a stairwell of an apartment building. And this guy comes up the stairs, and this woman's coming down the stairs, and they meet at the landing at the same time. And then the guy, for whatever reason, just gives her a clock, you know, straight arm left to the face. Down she goes. And, you know, she's leaning up against the door to that floor, you know, and then he just starts stomping on her a few times in the face. Yeah, geez, EK says, yes. It's awful. And then, I don't know, I guess he got bored of it and just walked back down the stairs and out of the shot. As he's leaving, these other guys are coming up the stairs. They see her there with blood pouring out of her face onto the floor. And they go up, walk up to the door and try to open the door, but she's blocking it. So they're just like opening the door into her, saying like, move, move, move. Finally, she scoots over enough for them to get through the door, and off they go. And that's the end of the clip. And I was reminded of the beginning of Boondock Saints. And if you remember in Boondock Saints, you know, the Monsignor who finally got the point was talking about how these people were witnessing an awful crime. I won't get into the details of it. They were witnessing an awful crime and nobody did anything. And then the Monsignor, the priest says, is like, we should all fear evil men, but there's another thing we should fear most, and that is the indifference of good men. And I think that at one time there was a sense of community in every community in the United States where you feel a sort of responsibility that good people outnumber the bad in your community. But the problem is that even the police aren't dealing with these people anymore. And society had given up on trying to participate in violence that happens in their community because of the presence of police. But the police aren't doing that anymore, and people aren't doing that anymore. And your people are more likely to just shove past somebody and say, I don't want to be a part of this, or they're more likely to just pull out your phone and take video of you instead of trying to help you. You know, I saw a video as well, I don't know, a few weeks back. A guy, you know, just slowly loaded a gun on the side of the street and killed a homeless guy. Guy was filming the whole time. Didn't even shout out, hey, he's loading a gun, watch out. I don't know. It's something got in my head. It's something that, you know, causes a lot of despair to me. And it's like, sometimes I was like, why get out of bed when the world is like this? So I got up and I tried to read some news and find something funny about it. But not that. That's like hard to find anything funny about that. Anyway, let's go into the news worth knowing before I drink some cyanide or something. I'm kidding. Where would you even get that? Anyway. You remember, what was it, Breaking Bad, where they went through all the trouble to make the ricin, and you had to go through all the trouble to get the bean in order to process it into ricin. And even after they made it, they just they sat on it for a while because, you know, it's not like, oh, well, we could just make more. It's no big deal. That's not how it is. It's like, you got to sit on it for a while. What, do you hide it on an electrical outlet or something? Huh? You don't remember? Wow. This memory is a curse. It really is, because that video keeps playing over and over in my head. All right, let's talk about Biden a little bit more. It's like every day there's more articles coming out about more information about the corruption and stuff like that. And I feel like I've been doing it for a month as well. So I'm going to talk about something a little different. Biden administration making moves at the border amid looming migrant traffic shifts and increases. So the Biden administration is taking a number of actions in response to what appears to be the beginnings of an increase as well as a shift in migrant traffic at the southern border. Numbers of overall migrant encounters over the southern border itself went down over the highs seen before the end of Title 42 in early May, confounding some predictions. There were over 20, it was summer, it's hot. There were 200,000 encounters in May that dropped to about 144,000 in June. Yeah, it's hotter in June. However, the Biden administration touted that decrease in numbers as a sign touted the numbers as a sign that its post-Title 42 strategy is working. Numbers have been reportedly increasing. The Washington Post reported last week that initial numbers show a 30% increase in July. Oh, it's not that hot. Additionally, there's signs of a shift in traffic from Texas to Arizona. CBS News reported that the Tucson sector has received a 134% increase from June in a region that sees blistering heat and extreme conditions. Even Arizona is better than everywhere else in the world. You understand? It's boiling hot in Arizona right now. But it's in America, and it's better than everywhere else in the world. Customs and Border Protection spokesperson told Fox News Digital on Saturday that the agency has been working to address large numbers of migrants crossing the desert area near Ajo, a typically desolate and quiet part of the border. This is a quote, the U.S. Border Patrol surged personnel and transportation resources to respond to the increase in encounters in this area, some of the hottest, most isolated and dangerous area in the southwest border, where individuals have been callously sent by smuggling organizations to walk for miles, often with little or no water, spokesperson said. That's why they need to be doing it legally. Media outlets had highlighted the station in Ajo where the chain link fence has been put up around an area holding migrants, which some described as a cage. Customs and Border Patrol stressed that only adults were held there in shade and are monitored, and just until they can be transported to larger, better equipped facilities. That's the point. They're going to these small towns because they know they're less defended than other areas, like instead of like El Paso. All right. And because they're doing that, they're going towards places that don't have the infrastructure to keep them cool, to keep them watered, to keep them fed, because we're humanitarians. We are human beings, after all, in America. But you need to come in illegally in places of entry where we can support you you support that kind of influx of people using up the resources. Seems pretty simple. Quote, Border Patrol has prioritized the quick transportation of non-citizens encountering this desert environment, which is particularly dangerous during the current weather conditions. Facilities, medical care, food, water. Yeah, larger facilities, more infrastructure. Yeah, so I think I about covered it. Pentagon announced last week that just 1,100 of the 1,500 active duty troops are being sent back to home base, and then approved an extension of 400 to the end of the month. So they got active duty military out there? Expected an increase. Okay. This is a mess. Did you see the thing about the border buoys or whatever? You know, they got the border buoys with the saw bladed. And I'm like, ooh, I like that. You know, and people are like, oh, that's inhumane. And it's like, you know what is also inhumane? Shooting a looter. All right. It's inhumane, but sometimes it's necessary. And the reason is like, you know, when a whole bunch of people storm into, say, I don't know, some 7-Eleven or a Goldman Sachs or something like that, just or CVS, and start stuffing, you know, stealing everything off the shelves, everything that's not nailed down. You know, the thing is, you don't have to shoot every looter. You shoot one or two, and the rest get the picture for the rest of their lives. You see what I mean? And so when somebody's trying to get across those buoys and they get cut up, it's like all the other people will see, oh, that guy got all cut up. Maybe we should rethink this. Unfortunately, you know, that's the kind of language people understand. That's why corporal punishment has always been a thing. Whether it's like caning and like in Eastern countries, you know, or some kind, or even like in Old West times, they would do like whipping somebody. You know, but whipping has that negative, you know, slavery connotation, so people don't want to do that anymore. And I'm not saying that whipping is a good thing, but some sort of corporal punishment, you know, is reasonable. You know, unfortunately, like, violence is the only language a lot of people understand. You know, and you got a bunch of rioters in New York, you know, because some jackass YouTuber starts giving away PS5s or something like that. You know, you just need a few rubber bullets and some gas, you know, gas canisters. Problem solved. Start arresting people for breaking the law. That's better than shooting looters, don't you think? Is that the bell, dude? Thought I heard the... Anyway, so we can go on to the next story. Man, I'm ranty today. Ranty. All right, so let's talk about... DeSantis. He suspends Orlando state attorney over dereliction of duty on crime. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suspended 9th Judicial Circuit State Attorney Monique Worrell for dereliction of duty on crime via an executive order on Wednesday. DeSantis' office says that Worrell, whose jurisdiction includes Orlando, has routinely allowed murderers and other violent offenders to escape the full consequences of their criminal conduct. The governor is tapping Florida Judge Andrew Bain to replace Worrell as state attorney for 9th Judicial Court. Quote, the practices and policies of her office have allowed murderers, other violent offenders, and dangerous drug traffickers to receive extremely reduced sentences and escape the full consequences of their criminal conduct. In some cases, these offenders have evaded incarceration altogether, DeSantis' office wrote in a statement. State Attorney Worrell's practices undermine Florida law and endanger the safety, security, and welfare of the communities that Ms. Worrell has elected to serve. It continued. DeSantis highlighted the move in a news conference on Wednesday morning alongside several other Florida officials. The officials, who included Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody, stated that Worrell routinely avoided mandatory minimum sentencing for gun crimes and drug trafficking offenses, as well as allowing juvenile offenders to avoid serious charges and incarceration. She also allegedly limited charges against child pornography offenders and avoided sentencing enhancements such as those based upon prior offenses. Wow, they got all the documents here too. Nice. Governor went on, it's a PDF and everything. The governor went on to tell reporters that he was confident the Florida Constitution granted him authority to remove Worrell. This is the second time DeSantis has taken drastic action against the Florida prosecutor who he says failed to do their jobs. Although he suspended Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren in August 2022 for refusing to enforce the state's abortion ban. Hillsborough County, that's Tampa, right? Yeah, it is Tampa. I should know. That suspension was upheld in court in a January decision from a federal judge. Worrell fired back after the announcement, calling the suspension a smokescreen for Ron DeSantis failing and disaster. Failing in I guess it's a disastrous presidential campaign in which the governor is trailing behind the former President Donald Trump. But everyone's behind him. Anyway. He's needed to get back in the media in some positive way, in a way that would be red meat for his base, and he would have accomplished that today, Worrell said. He will be in the news nationally and internationally for the individual who has single-handedly destroyed democracy in the state of Florida. Really? Is he destroying it by letting criminals go? See, this is my point. You know, it's like they, when it's convenient for them, it's political. You know? Like, oh, he's just doing it because he's a partisan. Has nothing to do with these criminals I let go. You know, I was just talking about this. It's like, you know, if you ignore these kinds of things about law and order, you know, you're going to have more and more lawlessness, which means more crime victims, means more people pissed off, means more people hurt and killed and stuff like that. Do your job. Now, listen to these names. This name, I suppose. What was her name? Missed it. Something Worrell. Miss Worrell, what's her full name? Worrell, Monique Worrell. You know, sounds like the kind of name that is like, oh, you know, black people only get arrested because of racism. It's like, it's never that they actually commit the crime, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, the people that she did let go, you know, had a particular racial bent. And the one she did prosecute had a different kind of racial bent. Anyway, that's my point. It's like somehow this racism has bled into everything, and somehow we're not allowed to address it. Speaking of which, let's go on to this next story. Texas district fires first grade teacher who joked about killing sister's white boyfriend. Texas school district fired... What? Yeah. A Texas school district said it fired a self-identified black supremacist teacher accused of posting anti-white posts, which included a joke about violence. Prior to the firing, the teacher reportedly bragged about how she would never be terminated and said some of the administration laughed off her posts. Quote, "Why shouldn't I hate white people?" Former Thompson Elementary School first grade teacher Danielle Allen, 29, posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. Allen used X for a burner account when she went under the pseudonym Claire Kyle. The account was, he chose that name. That's awful. Claire Kyle? The account was first discovered by ex-user Amiri King. The Mesquite Independent School District on Tuesday called the post racist, adding the teacher would not be eligible for rehire. Quote, "The highly offensive statement posted to her X account do not reflect the values and standards of Mesquite ISD, and the district condemns them in the strongest terms," the statement said. However, Allen has a different perspective of the initial response from the administration the day prior. Quote, "Y'all have found my job," Allen posted on X. "They told me to delete the post, but my job is safe since I do not directly wish harm on all white people." All in all caps. "They laughed and told me to watch what I say and I'll be good to go. Just talked to the school board. My job is safe. I told them it was a joke and they know I'm not racist, so have fun." The teacher recorded a video of herself walking through the halls and appeared to be the elementary school saying, "Twitter thinks that they can take my job away from me. Call me every name under the sun, but you will never call me unemployed." Allen had originally posted a text message exchange in which she joked about planning to murder her sister's white boyfriend. She expressed concern that the boyfriend looked like a Trump supporter. "Like I'm baffled AF, seeing a white man in my house. I can't believe it. This is supposed to be a black person only house. It's black person only is hyphenated and in brackets. What do you think the word she used was? This is supposed to be a what house? A scholar house. I'm so mad right now," Allen said. She went on to say, "I can't believe she has this cave dweller." It's accurate. In the Caucasus, they lived in caves. Caucasians. They were out of the sun for a while because they were smart enough to know. It's like, oh, that shit burns. "Can't believe she has this cave dweller in my freaking house. Oh my God, I'm trying to stay calm. She knows I'm a racist." Exclamation point. "Come and kill him for me. I promise I'll help you hide the body. Bring all 4 of your guns." Jesus. She went on. went on to say, quote, my sis, all caps, my sis letting all of Europe take turns on her. How many boyfriends do you have? Disappointment I feel right now. Our parents raised us better than this. I would hope they'd had. But you turned out racist, so. Thumbnail image of the burner account is the same that appeared on a Facebook exchange, and she did not respond for comment. A teacher not only bragged about being racist against white people, but also about being homophobic. That's super gay, an incoming message said. This is why I love you. Thank you for being homophobic like I am. You're my soulmate. Bizarre. I guess racism doesn't make sense. You know, but that's the point. It's like, you know, these are the only people who are allowed, you know, to be racist. These are the only people that, you know, it's been tolerated like this for so long. And finally, one district starts seeing something like this and is like, oh, I guess you can be racist to white people. You know, and that whole idea that so many black people have where you cannot be racist, and white liberals, white liberal women, I should say, you know, they think that it's, you know, you don't have to be, it's impossible to be racist to white people. And I was like, I don't think you really understand what races are. You know, if you say something like that, you okay? Or just burping?
No, the argument.
You're gonna have to speak up, bro.
The argument is incomplete.
How?
So, the definition of racism.
Uh-huh.
The only thing required for racism to exist is a feeling of superiority over another race.
Right.
So people that believe that you can't be racist against white people are essentially saying
that they are superior.
Are superior.
Correct.
The flaw in that argument
it's a logical fallacy. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. EK gets it. Hopefully you get it too. And we need to do something about these racist people. But the problem is like you can't go out if you're going after. It's like if a cop arrests her, you're just arresting her because she's black. It's like, did you see what she posted? Not that I look. I laughed when she called white people cave dwellers. I laughed when she said, like, my sister's letting all of Europe run a train on her. That stuff's funny because I understand that there is no difference in races, you know? And it's funny, people rib on each other. I was in the military. People rib on each other. They bust each other's chops, even on subjects such as race. It's okay. But if you actually think somebody's better than you or you're better than them, that's the problem. Anyway, 15 minutes left. Yeah, we could do this. All right, let's talk about Biden again. I was talking about the Grand Canyon. So President Biden's incorrect claim that the Grand Canyon is one of the 9 wonders of the world has caught social media's attention on Tuesday afternoon. 9 wonders of the world. While giving a speech at the Red Butte airfield in Arizona on his climate agenda, Biden gave the Grand Canyon the title as one of Earth's 9 wonders, quote unquote. The quote is, "Folks, it's not hyperbole to suggest that there is no national treasure. There's tons, dude." He wanted to say none that is grander than the Grand Canyon. Hence the name. Anyway, he went on to say the Grand Canyon, one of the Earth's 9 wonders of the world, literally. Think of that. You know, it's amazing. And wow, that was 2 sentences right there. You know, think of that. You know, it's amazing. It's an enduring symbol of America to the entire world, Biden had said. Users of X, a site formerly known as Twitter. See what I'm saying, Elon? You got to change it back, bro. You got to change it back, brah. Quickly pounced on the president's latest bizarre claim during a speech. Quote, Joe Biden, who said this? Tim Young, political satirist Tim Young. He said, Joe Biden says the Grand Canyon is one of the 9 wonders of the world. There are only 7 wonders of the world, maybe 8, depending upon what list you look at, which subreddit you're in. Either way, he's clueless, and his staff certainly don't help or care. He wrote. Daniel Turner joked, and he's one of the 7 dwarfs. Sniffy, bribey, or dirty. Power of the Future executive director Daniel Turner joke. Town Hall contributor John Hassan commented, even funnier because he adds literally at the end. As usual, he literally makes things up. RNC Rapid Response Director Jake Schneider agreed. So, yeah, it's just a list of, like, people saying how stupid he is. It's like, we know he's stupid. We know it. You know, it's funny because, you know, they kind of got to keep, like, harping on this. Is like, because Trump isn't. You know, Trump is not going after this. All Trump is talking about is like, oh, they're coming after me. Chris Christie's fat. You know, he's not really. If you're going against somebody like Biden, you need to keep pointing at him falling down. You need to keep pointing at him screwing up things. You need to keep pointing at his dirty dealings with Ukraine, in which we are sending money to finance the possibility of World War III. Okay? That's what you need to do, Donald Trump, if you want to win. But instead, what are you doing? You're making fun of Steve Christie. So moving on to this next story, lighter subjects as we start to exit the news. Trump says his response to Christie fat pig remark was extremely respectful. All right, so if you don't know about this, get a load of this fucking guy. So former President Trump said Tuesday that he was extremely respectful while reportedly responding to an audience member who called the 2024 GOP challenger Chris Christie a fat pig at a campaign event in New Hampshire. Quote, I was extremely respectful of sloppy Chris Christie today in New Hampshire, Trump wrote on Truth Social. He went on to say, during a speech in front of a large crowd of patriots, somebody shouted that Chris Christie is a fat pig. Rather than acknowledging that, which many speakers would have done, I said, no, he's not a fat pig. He's a fat human. I'm kidding. I added the he's a fat human thing. Anyway, and Trump went on to say, I'm sure Chris Christie would be very happy with my defense of him. Okay, dude. Okay. However, Christie took to X to respond to the clip of the moment. If you had the guts, you would show up to the debate and say it to my face, he wrote, directed at Trump. You know he will. You know that's Donald Trump, right? You know he would call you that to his face. Hell, Joe Biden would do that. Look, fat, you know? It's not like, you know, it's the politics is a sophisticated game anymore. All right? Donald Trump's running. Joe Biden is clueless and the incumbent and likely to win because too many women vote. Anyway, Christie, this is the quote that Donald Trump originally said. Christie, he's eating right now. He can't be bothered. The former president remarked during the speech as the Windham crowd laughed. And then some guy shouted out, he's a fat pig. And he said, sir, do not call him a fat pig. That's very disrespectful. Don't call him. See, I'm trying to be nice, he added. But you started it. You started the roast battle. All right? And then you're gonna take the high ground because somebody else went further. They tried to outbid you. And you said, I'm out. That sucker's going to have to pay for it. See, this is why if you go back, all the way back to when Trump started running, never really liked him for president. But once we had him, I was like, okay, he did an okay job, kind of fumbled there at the end where he should have said, no, we're not doing lockdowns. Stop wearing masks. That's ridiculous. That's what he should have done at the end of his term. You know, and then maybe he would have got reelected. All right. But now he's running again. I don't necessarily want him. I would rather have somebody who I think is a little less self-centered and a little less mean to be president. Unfortunately, he's got the cult of personality of the right behind him, and that's fine. And if it means we've got to wait another term to get somebody reasonable like DeSantis or Ramaswamy in there, but even then I'm iffy with Ramaswamy because he's not Christian. Hindus are weird. Anyway. But I don't understand. Don't call him a fat pig, Trump said. You can't do it. You can't do that. So now, because you're not allowed to do that, and therefore we're not going to do it, okay? It said the same thing like 4 times in a row without taking a breath. We want to be very civil, right? Yeah. Good luck with that, Trump. Anyway. So it's just, I don't know. Usually I like Trump these days. But every now and then he reminds me, it's like, what a D-bag. What a D-bag. Yeah. I mean, I understand. It's like everybody who doesn't want to vote for him. I get it. But trust me, you don't want another 4 years of Democrats because it is nightmarish what they are doing to this country.
Essentially, you don't want 8 years of either, folks.
EK has a different opinion than I do. He says you shouldn't have 8 years of 4 years of 8 years of either. I'm like,
After 4 years, they start spending more money than they need to spend.
yeah, that's true. They feel like they got carte blanche after that second term. They start pardoning all their friends and
Both
shit.
sides.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about this last story. Make ourselves laugh, and so we can move on to the week. So, a Michigan girl 4 injured after being hit by a golf cart. But madman, how's this supposed to make me feel happy? How about a dog was driving?
Oh, Jesus.
So, a 4-year-old girl in Michigan was injured Friday night in a bizarre incident involving a golf cart and a dog, fire officials said. The incident happened at Blues, Brews, and Barbecue, nice name, in Westland, Michigan, about a 35-minute drive west of Detroit. Westland Fire and Rescue said the department's arson dog, Bella. Don't you train those dogs? Anyway, arson dog Bella was sitting on the seat of a golf cart being used for the event. At some point, the dog jumped onto the floor and laid down across the accelerator pedal, causing the cart to lunge forward. Firefighters started to steer the cart away from hitting anyone. Before the firefighters could bring the cart to a full stop, golf cart hit a 4-year-old girl in the passenger side of the front right tire rolled over the girl's leg, Westland Fire and Rescue said. Paramedics immediately assessed the child for injuries. Couldn't have happened in a better place, lady. You know what I'm saying? There are paramedics right there. Lady, 4-year-old, little girl. Paramedics immediately assessed the child for injuries. She was visibly shaken, but otherwise had no obvious injuries, the official said. The girl's mother refused further treatment to transport to an ER, so she probably had a warrant out for her, the mother. This is a quote. Fortunately, the child was back to eating popcorn. Was she eating popcorn before she was hit? I guess that's what they mean. It's like she was eating popcorn, then got ran over by the dog in the golf cart. And then she was like, as soon as it ran over, it's like, where's my popcorn? Didn't crush my popcorn? Anyway. Yeah, she was back to eating popcorn within minutes of the incident, and within 10 minutes of the incident, she was back to jumping in the fire department bounce house, Westland Fire and Rescue said. So she's fine. Little kids that age, they're very, spongy. Their bones aren't fully hardened yet. I think it's because they, mother or God knows that we're clumsy human beings, and you drop a baby. So that's why they call it bouncing babies. Like, boing. Bouncing, this is my bouncing baby. It's like, oh, thank God, I dropped my kid. Thank God his skull is still kind of pliable and spongy. It doesn't say if the dog was arrested or if it's even given a field sobriety test. I mean, it is a firefighter dog. Working arson. How many arson cases do you have out there in the suburbs? Dog's probably a lush. No information on that. I guess because he's a firefighter, he gets special treatment. You know how those firefighters roll. Anyway, see, it's okay to make jokes about it because the girl wasn't okay. But I'd probably make jokes even if she wasn't okay either because, a dog, they don't know. It's funny because if you ever seen something like a dog do something they're not supposed to, like if they jumped off the seat of a golf cart and onto the accelerator, lay down on it, and they're just sitting there happy as hell, and everyone's screaming at you as the golf cart is going. The golf cart's starting to take off, and everyone's screaming your name. The dog's looking at you like, oh, I'm popular. Everyone's looking at me. That's my name. You see their tail start wagging and stuff like that as it's riding over a kid. You know what I mean? It reminds me of the story I read about this guy, guy who was a trucker, and he was parked beside a dock on a docks, and he left his dog in the cab, and he got out. And if you ever had a dog and you rode with it in your car, you'll know they'll love it. See, if you get out of the car, they'll love getting in the driver's seat. All right, they love it. I think it's because either your butt was warm or it smells like you. And it's like, oh, it's his farts. This is my friend. I like my friend's farts. That's the only reason I think dogs like us. They like our farts. That's why they're always putting your nose in your butts. Anyway, the point is, he got out of the cab, and closed the door, and the dog immediately jumped over into the driver's seat. And as he did, he knocked the stick shift out of park and into neutral. And then the truck started rolling into the river, just dog's clueless, sitting there in the window, panting away with a big, you know how dogs always look like they're smiling. I think that's why we like them, so it's just happy as hell. This guy's entire truck, his livelihood sliding into the river, all the merchandise he was supposed to deliver getting ruined, and this dog just smiling away. And all the guy can do is go in there and save this dumbass dog that ruined his life. Because there's people watching. And they're saying, you going to go save your dog?
Thinking about it, but not sure.
I suppose so. It's like I like this one picture like somebody posted. It's like a note they found on their car. It says, hey, I hit your car. A bunch of people are watching me, so I'm pretending to write a note. So best of luck getting it fixed. And it's stuck in it. You know. Anyway.
Dick move.
Yeah, it's a dick move. It really is. And sometimes dogs can be dicks. Cats are worse, though. Anyway, so this is going to be the end of the show. And remind you again that there's a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. Thank you. I would appreciate that. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. You can send me money through Cash App. Follow me on social media at DNALETSAW on Twitter or /X. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, or at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. And for those of you who are like DMing me on Instagram, I have a hell of a time figuring out Instagram's text like DM feature, because like the keyboard pops up right over the thing, and there's no button on the key. It's frustrating. So I don't DM on Instagram. So try Twitter or something. Anyway, if you want to send me, because I don't know what's going on with the email thing. There's some sort of problem with the. I haven't been able to get in the email for a while.
Really?
Yeah, so I think it's because they changed some sort of software, and I was like, I'm not going to do it anymore. It's not like I got an email anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check into that.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was an issue.
All right, just letting you know. We're giving you behind the scenes stuff. Anyway, this is going to be the end of the show. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.